I'll make that 11:03, so I think if more people are joining as we go along, we'll make a start. So good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Tewkesbury. I'm Associate Director of Environment and Sustainability at the University of Southampton. So I've got the job of introducing the webinar this first event from the group. Future South was set up nearly 10 years ago as a not-for-profit partnership of local organisations and individuals who wanted to promote low carbon options and demonstrate how they could improve the way businesses operate, whilst also having a positive impact in terms of carbon reductions. Over the years, Future South has raised more than £10 million for projects to support local companies in their efforts to reduce their carbon impact. And the Future South board is made up of representatives from local businesses, educational institutions such as ours, and local authorities. As part of this vision, Future South runs a regular service of webinars on carbon reduction topics. And today we're here to explore mobility as a service. So one of my responsibilities at the university is transport and travel planning, with a target to reduce our use of fossil fuels and support the transition to sustainable travel modes. Mobility as a service is a topic that we've discussed and explored for a number of years, starting with conversations with academic colleagues, which have led to the trials and the applications that we're looking at today. So with that, I'd just like to hand over to Steve Longman, who's going to take us through some of the work that Southampton Transport are doing and how that might affect our travel habits. And after the presentation, there'll be a bit of time for questions. So please just, if you could add any to the chat as we go along, we'll pick them up at that point. So Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Adam. I'm hoping you can see my screen now. There we go. Hi, everyone. My name's Stephen Longman. I work for Southampton Transport. I'm the Mobility as a Service project lead. Today, I'm going to talk about mobility as a service. And then I'm going to give some information around the Breeze app that we're developing. Then at the end, I do have a feedback session using the Menti tool. So if you have a web browser handy for the end of the presentation, I'll give you all a code. You can dial in and provide your feedback in that way. And then, as Adam said, at the end, there's time for questions and answers. So first of all, a bit of context about Southampton Transport and the Future Transport Zone. So Southampton Transport represents Southampton City Council, Hampshire County Council, Portsmouth City Council and Isle of Wight Council. We cover that area, or the MAS app covers this rough area here in the map on the right-hand side of the screen. We're working on a programme called the Future Transport Zone. So it's a multi-million-pound programme with government funding. It's split into two themes. The second theme is sustainable urban logistics. So you may have seen in the press or on LinkedIn about the drone test flights that we've been doing to the Isle of Wight. There's also projects around macro and micro consolidation. And then theme one is focused on personal mobility. As you can see from the diagram, the Mobility as a Service project sits at the core of this theme. And then we have lots of different projects that sit around that. So you would have seen the e-scooters within the Solent region going around. So we look after those and monitor the progress on that. We're just about to launch in the next few months a dynamic, responsive transport system. So you'll be able to use the Mobility as a Service app to book this, bus or shuttle to where you want to go. We're also launching later in the summer our bike share scheme. So that'd be similar to the e-scooters. You'll be able to rent bikes on a short-term basis. We have our Solent Go card that provides different tickets and discounts for use on the buses. And then part of the Mobility Service app will be able to offer a trial of mobility credits. So we have a project where we'd look to fund a number of people with, say, £1,000 worth of credit, and they'd be able to use that credit to decide which mobility provider that they'd want to use for different journey types. We also have a lift sharing project, and that's currently on hold for obvious reasons, as it's probably not going to be that popular in times that we're in at the moment, but that's being reviewed on a regular basis. So as I said, the mobility service project sits at the core of this. And for those that are unfamiliar with what mobility as a service is, I mean, it does mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but for the benefit of this project, we sort of view this as it's an app that enables users to plan, book and pay for multiple types of mobility service all in one place. So it's a super app eventually. It draws everything together in one place. So you could book a bus, or you could book the e-scooters, can book your bus ticket for next week. It's all in one central app. So you don't have to use your Uber app to book the car or the Voi app to book the e-scooter, and have lots of apps on your phone and flicking between them, having to check what time the train's in so you can book the bus, etc. It's just all in one place. In terms of use cases for mobility as a service, for example, someone commuting to work, they could plan their journey to work. It could be different each day of the week. If they wanted to, they're not locked into one single mode. So on Monday, they could plan the journey, and it might be that they get the train every day, but on Monday, they decide to get an e-scooter for the last bit of the journey, or on Tuesday, they decide to walk that bit or get a bike share. So it gives them the flexibility to plan that journey based on the requirements of that day. A university student living in halls, you might be using the app to get to know the city. So it provides all the options for them in one place, so they can search different ways to travel around and get to different places. It could also be used, for example, to provide credit as part of the university halls. So they've got their bus pass within the app, but then they also have access to all the other transport modes throughout the city. Also major events, a person looking to attend, say the football, could use the app to either locate parking or get the train, or just work out how best to get to that event on that particular day. So the mobility service app will show live data. So it might be that there's congestion on a particular route or congestion on a particular mode, and that person would be able to see that it's better to change their travel plans on that day. In terms of business travel, somebody traveling for their employer can directly fund their mobility service account, and they have the freedom to travel and not have to fill in their expenses at the end of the day and take copies of their receipts. It's all there in one app. So that's just some of the use cases, high-level use cases that mobility as a service could be used for. The end user benefits, so that's the person using the app. You have the freedom to choose the method of travel that suits that particular journey. So, for example, if for car ownership, sort of wedded to using the car, you've already paid out for your car. So you're likely to use that mode of travel because you've got that available to you. With mobility as a service, it sets out all the different modes and the costs, the time it might take, but also the carbon impact of a particular journey that you're planning. So you'll be able to choose which mode best suits that journey at that time of day. Having everything all in one app means you'll be able to make more informed decisions about your travel. So for example, I said about having the carbon impact presented at the time of the decision. If that's something that is important, that you can see which different multimodal trips will have the minimum impact, and you could decide your journey based on that. And that means you don't have to swap between different apps and different sources of data. It's all there in that single app. We like to think about the app as a personal assistant for travel. You could set reminders or find out when it's best to travel, and also pay for all services in one place with one wallet, which does, there is a cost saving with that if you're making one transaction instead of 4 transactions for the different modes that you're using. The benefits to local authority, it's definitely a tool that we can use to influence travel behaviour. For example, a Section 106 agreement, for a new development within one of these local authorities, you could supply credit using that funded to the new households. The app could be then used to find out new ways to travel and influence their behaviour with that credit supplied to them. It could be used for events in the area, so the local authority could promote the travel via the app and different ways to get to that event to reduce congestion on certain routes or certain modes, and just basic travel information all in one place so residents and visitors can make that more informed decision. Essentially, it brings together a more holistic network. So rather than you have a road network and a rail network and a bus network, it can be presented as all one travel network within the region. It's also useful that specific demographics can be targeted. So if there's accessibility issues around a particular group of people, that these can be addressed or targeted within the app as well. Mobility service providers. These are the initial providers that we're looking to integrate within the app. The benefits to them, it opens up new services and new audiences for them. So for example, their bus customers might not use e-scooters or the car clubs, but where somebody might be using the car club, they'll see an option with bus presented to them, and it might be quicker or cheaper for them to get that option. So they're presented with that option in the app, and it might not be something they'd consider using unless it was displayed to them within the app. It makes their services easier to access as well. So residents and visitors to the region will have at their fingertips this, as I said, one app that they can access all these services. They won't have to keep checking these 14 different apps to see which is the best way that they can make their journey across the region. It's all there in one place, so they're more likely to use these services. And finally, there's new opportunities and new ticket types that can be developed as part of this Mobility as a Service app. And we're not currently looking to do this as part of the work we're doing, but there could be a subscription model. So for example, one of the bus operators could provide a monthly subscription for bus travel, and that can be offered within the app, or a multimodal pass. So the obvious one is Plus Bus, so that's the bus and bike share ticket or bike ticket, and that could be offered as part of this app as well. Just a little bit about the app before I go into the detail and show you what it looks like. At the moment, we're trying to get a core foundation of functionality here, and then the idea is to then ramp that up very quickly over the next few months. So we don't want to go to market with a fully finalized app, because we feel that will take a long time to do by the time we've integrated all the providers and also all the functionality. So we're starting off, as I said, as this core foundation. So one of the foundations is this journey planner that has been developed. It's an enhanced journey planner. It does show, if you type in your route, it does show here your different options by mode, and this is broken down into multimodal trips as well. So if you did click on this bus icon here, it would break down the trip to, this particular one is walking, then getting the bus and then walking, but it will also show either it might be train, bus, e-scooter at the end. There's lots of different permutations there. But the key thing about this, it presents the data to the user. It's got the estimated travel time, the estimated costs, and later versions of the app will have the carbon impacts displayed there as well. So users will be able to make informed decisions on a number of fronts there with the data all in one place. The second foundation that we've been working on recently is having all your tickets in one place. So we've been working to integrate the different providers and their different ticket types. So as you will see from the demonstration later, you will have a wallet of tickets. So you'll be able to call upon the tickets that you've purchased, and that will just display the codes that you either need to scan or the ticket you need to access that particular travel mode. And the third foundation is the customer account. So this stores basic details. There's nothing too fancy about this, but it does store your preferred payment method. So when you do come to buy any access to transport, you don't have to keep typing in your credit card number and verify at any time. That is stored within the account. Also, your ID, you can verify your driving license. So if you were to use the e-scooters or the car clubs or the car rental functionality, your ID is verified and stored. So if you come to use a car club, you can do a selfie check, and it checks the person accessing the vehicle is the person that the license has been verified for. And then the fourth pillar that we've been working on is the payments options. So we offer Google Pay, Apple Pay, Visa and MasterCard. Users will be able to load credit onto their account or just pay as you go. There's benefits to loading money onto the account because it reduces the number of transactions and the transaction fees that are paid. But that means that you can pay for travel or access to travel quite easily, and then those tickets sit within your account. So our aim here is to have all transport options in one place. The app's designed to be easy and attractive to use. And this is all enabled by the very clever people that we're working with to develop the app to simplify that for the end user. We've recently got our brand trademarked. We are launching this over the next couple of months, but it's not in general usage at the moment. We're going, I'll show a timeline in a bit that displays that we're currently entering a sort of a beta test of the trial that if you're interested in downloading the app, I'll provide some details later on. But at the moment, we have a brand. It is called Breeze. This has been fully integrated into the app and will be the basis of our marketing campaign that accompanies the hard launch later in the year. I would have liked to have done a live demonstration on the app on the presentation, but technology hasn't allowed me to do that because it's only a function within MS Teams at the moment. But I've got some screenshots here to try and demonstrate what the app will look like and how it functions. I've just noticed, I think my beer is ready at Wetherspoon, so I might have to go and collect that in a minute. But the app is available on Android and Apple stores. It will appear on your home screen with this logo here, with our branding of the Breeze there. Once you click on that, when you first open the app, there's an onboarding screen. It'll ask you for your details. It'll ask you to verify your preferred payment method, verify your driving license. Those can be skipped, but it's easier for you as the user to set those up at the beginning. So then you don't have to do those while you're stood in the middle of the street waiting to get on an e-scooter. So once you've completed the onboarding screen, you'll be taken to the landing page. So what this will show is the different travel modes that are available. And it shows live information on this map here, which you can click on to expand. So what you won't see in my static screenshots is you have the bus stops here, but you also see the buses traveling around the network. So for example, if you're at this bus stop here and you're waiting for a bus traveling along this road, you can see where it is and you can time your trip to the stop. So you can just meet that in time. So you could set a notification if you're sat in the pub maybe after work and you want to maximize your time in the pub, you could set up a notification to warn you when your bus is say 30 seconds away. Then your phone will alert you and you can go out and meet the bus at the stop. So it avoids you having to wait at the bus stop for 5-10 minutes in the cold weather. When you plan a trip, this is what the results will look like. As I said, it gives you the estimated time and estimated cost, and it will give you the carbon impact of that multimodal journey that you've selected. It's not displayed at the moment because we're currently updating all the prices within the tickets as we've gone through our final testing stage, but that will show the price of each mode there. Once you've selected the mode, it does display it down here, and then you can click through, you can see the live information. So if there is a delay to your trip, or there's an element, say there's an issue with e-scooters, it does show you those alerts, so you can either change your plans. For example, there's an overnight road closure for this particular trip, so it enables you to change your plans and not be delayed. And then finally, your ticket wallet. You don't have to plan a journey from A to B. If you just want to use the bus and you know your journey already, you'll be able to go to the different providers here and click through and buy their tickets, and they will just sit in your wallet ready for use. So that's the basic high-level view of how the app works. As I said, I would have liked to have shown you live because that's much more impactful, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how our current version of the app is working. Sitting behind the app, so the app is our front-facing part of the project that the user sees. Sitting behind that, there's quite a lot of stuff going along in the background. So for example, we've done a lot of work over the last few months about the back office. So that means the reporting of how many trips have been purchased, invoicing to our mobility providers and settlement to them, but also customer services. So if there's an issue with one of the trips, we want to make sure that there's someone there or there's information there to allow the user to resolve their issue. We don't want someone to be stood next to the e-scooters waiting to unlock one and there's an issue that it can't resolve. So we do have a customer service support function. So I guess initially it's a triage service. So if there's an issue with a bus seat, it puts you in contact with the bus operator. If there's a problem with payment or tickets, it does bring you through to our customer service team. That is due to expand as we ramp up the number of users using the app, but at the moment we feel that's a small team is sufficient to manage that. As we go through the different stages of our launch plan, so at the moment we're in closed testing, and over the next week we are moving to our beta testing. We have a marketing and communications plan that ramps up to a full hard launch later in the year. But the balance is finding that perfect time to launch with the services that we'll be able to offer at that launch. So that's going on in the background. You'll start to see bits and pieces start to come out next week, small announcements, and then that will ramp up to maybe radio adverts and things later in the year. There's lots of third-party integrations and lots of work that's gone into managing the back office of the app. So for example, our payment processors and payment providers, NMI and Lloyds Bank, on Fido, they provide our ID verification checks, and then there's Google Cloud, etc., that this app is hosted on. So there's a lot of clever things going on in the background. So for example, your phone is validated or checked when you sign up to the app to make sure the number is the number that you're using. So there's lots of different security features going on in the background there. The work we're also doing to, I guess, integrate our Solent Go card. So at the moment that is a physical card, but we are looking to bring that within the app. So you'd have that as part of your ticket wallet, but also we're going through integration of rail ticketing. So that does involve licensing and accreditation. And that's quite a challenge and a process to go through. We are making good progress, and I think we're looking to offer train tickets later this year, maybe April, May time. But we see that's quite a big service to offer. So we'd look to link the launch together with rail tickets. In terms of data integration, there's a lot of data that we process to present the information to our users. So it's not just live bus information. For example, we've got live e-scooter information. It tells you where the nearest scooter is, how much charge it's got, what the registration number is, for example. And there's a lot of information that is being processed to present to the user. So we're really happy with how that's going in terms of bringing that all together to help users make that informed decision. I know some of my colleagues are on this call, but we are doing a lot of work with them in terms of, I guess, reviewing the app, but also identifying areas of improvement. Lots of research going on in terms of, well, usability of the app, but also how the app's being used, how the routing algorithm is planning these journeys, and how that can be improved as well. So there's a lot of that going on in the background, and I'll come a bit more onto that later. In terms of the governance of the projects, it is managed by Solent Transport. I'm the project manager sitting in the middle here. So we've got a lot of stakeholders. We've got our MSPs here. So these are our initial MSPs that we're looking to integrate. As I said, we've got all our different third-party integrations that we're integrating. And we have Traffy, who are our major developer. They're the brains behind developing the app. And we work with the behavioral insights team and Unicard to develop that side of the app as well. And then, as I said, we work with our research partners, and they're looking at the barriers and opportunities, travel behavior change, human factors engineering, optimizing the algorithms and the routing, as well as monitoring and evaluation of the projects. So there's a lot of exciting work going on there. And to be honest, I think that is the most exciting part of the project, because that's where the, I guess, new features will come from and the exciting ways that we can use this to improve people's lives. In terms of timescales, we're taking I guess, the structured approach to launching this app. It is a challenge to integrate 14 different providers, get the app up and running, make sure that the features are working well, all in one go. So we've taken this structured approach. At the moment, as I said, we're in closed testing stage where we've got 1 or 2 providers, but we're looking to launch into the soft testing phase by the end of this quarter. But I would say that's over the next 1 or 2 weeks, where we'd have these bus operators and the Voi e-scooters available. And then quickly after that, Stagecoach, Beryl, Enterprise, Rail Tickets and Solent Go would be integrated. And at that point, that's when we'd look to launch publicly. So we'd have the hard launch campaign with that, and we'd look to promote that quite heavily. And then towards Q3, we'd look to integrate the ferries. That's when our bike share project will launch, so that will be integrated. And then the DRT and taxis will come later in the year. At that point, we would switch from just integrating these initial operators. We possibly look to expand the area this covers. So at the moment, we're looking to get this up and running in the Solent region, but we know others are interested about having this service. So we are having very early conversations about that and what might be possible. And then from that point on, it's about an iterative approach to new features, expanding the areas of research, and introducing and testing these features before then pushing them out to the public. So our project has funding until June 2024, but we're keen for this not to be a project that's delivered for 2 years and then just ends. We're already looking into the long-term potential for this. So once the funding ends in June 2024, how the project will continue, how the service will be funded, and how it will be managed going forward. So we have one eye on that already, and our plans will develop over the next sort of year or two. We're now switching towards, I guess, engaging with our users. As I said, advertising and promotion, branding and marketing, that will ramp up over the next few months as we move towards the hard launch. We're working with our university partners to research new approaches and new features and how people engage with the app. And that might draw out different audiences and segmentation to target different areas to see how we can improve the usage of that app for that segmentation. And then finally, I just wanted to say that one thing that I always get asked of, does the app do this or can it do that? And more often than not, the answer is yes, it's possible, technically possible. But as I mentioned, we're looking to have this structured approach based on those foundations and sort of ramp things up slowly from that approach. We're not looking to integrate everything and have all the functions ready at the same time. But I was just wondering, or I'd be interested in getting some feedback on what the audience here would like to see in an app, or if they have an idea or a particular element of the app they'd like to see. So I'd like to try this out. If you have your web browser open on your laptop or your mobile phone, if you go to menti.com and you use the code 65247458, you'll be able to access the Menti board and you'll be able to put up your feedback. So I'm going to switch to that board right now. And some people have already been able to add some feedback there. So the first one there, disabled facilities and tickets. I mean, that's a very good point. One of our aims is to increase inclusivity and access to different modes. So that will be something we'll look at in terms of the tickets. Yes, we'd look to integrate the disabled rail card and disabled bus tickets. In terms of facilities, I know that there's apps out there that we could integrate that provide guidance for different infrastructure. So if you're looking to go to the train station, it will guide you around the train station and where you're able to walk or not walk. Safer walking routes, again, that's really important. We don't want the app to guide you somewhere where you might perceive as unsafe. So this could be integrated. More data, I mean, yes, that might need a bit of expansion there in terms of what more data means. In terms of what the transaction fees are, I guess in terms of transaction fees, that's just the cost of processing your card transaction, like any transaction. So if you bought something on Amazon, there is a percentage of your transaction that the payment provider takes. So we're not looking to charge a commission or make any money on this. We're just looking to recover the transaction fees. So they're the standard transaction fees that you'd see any transaction made electronically. Location and availability of car clubs. Yes, that's definitely something we're working on at the moment. So we have discussions with Enterprise at the moment. So not only will you be able to see the location and availability, you will be able to book them and access them as well from within the app. Multi-operator discounts. That, again, that's technically possible. It comes down to the operators and negotiation between those. We're not looking to offer those at the moment. We're just looking to mirror what's available today, and then that will come later on as the project progresses. Will the app show the location of secure bike stands? So in terms of the bike share scheme, it will. It's in terms of private bike usage, where you park your bike, certainly technically possible, and it would be quite an easy integration. So yes, we could look into that. And yes, private parking, we could manage parking via the app. So this could provide access to the parking space, and you could book ahead of time to secure that parking space. Park and ride, that is on our roadmap as well. So we want to be able to not only offer those tickets for park and ride, but also put that as an option as part of the journey planner. So direct people to the park and ride rather than coming right into the the city centre. Okay. there's some really good ideas there, and I will leave this board open for a few days. So if there's anything you want to add following the presentation, please do. If you just take a note of the website and the code, I can also send it around to the organisers to send round to you later. So with that, I don't know if we want to move to the Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. That's really useful. Really useful run through. I'm hoping we'll have a few more questions pop up. We've had one question on the chat just around park and ride, which I know you mentioned just now in terms of next sort of next phases for the project. Is there anything else to sort of say on that about kind of local park and ride schemes?
I mean, in terms of purely in terms of the app, yes, we want to offer every mobility option that we can in the area. So we would want to integrate the park and ride schemes within the area. I mean, I don't have any influence in terms of introducing new services, but yes, to incorporate within the app, we'd be very supportive of that.
Brilliant. We've got some more questions coming through. So first one, will the recording be sent to us? Yes, we can circulate the recording to the attendee group. I think lots of other questions are being typed. I had one question, which was just, are there any other examples of kind of mass apps elsewhere in the UK being rolled out? Are we?
There are smaller areas that are being trialled. So there is I think it's called Go High up in Scotland. There have been smaller trials, but we are the first multi-city mass app to launch. We also are one of 4 FTZs, or future transport zones. They are also developing their own apps to trial as well. But we at Solent, we're about, I would say, at least sort of 8 to 12 months ahead of them in terms of launching. So there are some examples out there, but we are the first sort of multi-city of this size to launch.
I guess the follow-on for that is, do you think those apps will at any point sort of interact together? You know, or is that a step too far?
I mean, to me, it seems the logical step that there would be one super app, a national super app. But I guess that's why we're doing these trials in different places, to understand the lessons learned and to understand if that's the way to go. Because at the moment, to me, it seems logical, but I found that there's a lot of lessons to be learned along the way. So I think in terms of regional apps that are being trialed at the moment, we might see those expand out from the initial regions. And then I guess at the end of the program, the FTZ program, we'd look to review the evidence and see what the way forward is.
And on that, one of the questions that's popped up in the chat was, how is this different from Waze app? That's not an app I'm aware of. Is that one you've come across?
I'm happy to be corrected, but I think Waze is a journey planner, and it does have the real-time sort of traffic information on there. I guess the difference here is that this is multimodal. You're able to plan journeys, but you're also able to purchase the tickets and access to those different forms of transport.
Okay, it's probably a case of people downloading it and having a play with the functionality, isn't it?
Yeah. So as I said, we're moving towards this beta testing within the next week. I can't give you the exact date because there's a few more gates that we need to tick off in the next few days, but certainly within the next week, we're looking to make the app available on the App Store. So that's the Apple App Store and the Google App Store. So if you search for Breeze, you'll be able to download this and test out the minimum viable product as it's being updated.
So, question on whether the app will be purely B2C, or will there also be a B2B element? Question from John.
In terms of that, I mean, it's focused on B2C, that we want individual users to sign up and use this. As the project progresses, we can see opportunities there towards going B2B, but our focus is on B2C at the moment.
That makes sense. And then a couple of questions on data privacy, data management.
Yeah, so this has been the most challenging part of my job. To be honest, the technical side has been quite easy, but we've done a lot of work producing our privacy policies, our data agreements, our DPIAs that set the foundations for how the app's used and the data is protected. So we have a back office that's limited in terms of access to the operational team. There's data retention policies within that. So for example, the ID check, we've limited that to only having the actual data stored for up to a week, then it's deleted, but we'll see that the data, the driving license has been verified, that will remain. So we've done a lot of work with our legal team to make sure that the privacy of the users has been respected and is proportionate to what's needed in terms of the usability of the app.
It's always a tricky subject when you go into
in terms of the data governance between the MSPs. So this is a new area for quite a lot of the MSPs and us. So it's a bit of we're working with them at the moment to work out what the data governance looks like, because as you can imagine, one bus provider won't really want their data to be shared with another bus provider, but there is a way of sharing the data, so it's mutually beneficial to see how the app's performing and how it's improving the opportunities or access to transport. So that is a work in progress, but we are being respectful of the different sort of commercial organisations.
How supportive have operators been?
They're very interested in being part of this, because obviously it's a trial and it is shaping how, I guess, the transport is accessed in the future. So they are very supportive, but at the same time, you know, it's got to be commercially viable. So there is an eye on that. Although it's fully funded trial at the moment, there is that focus on how this will be, I guess, delivered in the future when the funding's not there. So they have been very, very supportive.
Brilliant. Question from Martin. When you refer to expansion, how far do you have in mind? Is this a whole Hampshire thing or wider?
I can't give specifics on that. Only that some local authorities in neighbouring regions have expressed an interest in expanding the service to their areas. Our initial focus is on the Solent region to get this up and running over the next 6 months, and then we'd look to expand this to other regions. Because those conversations are quite early in the process, I can't really expand on where that might be.
No worries, well, it's useful. And there's an interesting question from Charlotte around or links to Southampton Football Club. Do you think it would be possible to integrate to the Saints app to provide smooth travel on match days? That's a question.
I don't know about integrate it into the Saints app. That's probably above my understanding of the technology. I can certainly put that to our developer team, but we'd look to work with major events and businesses that if there's a way of encouraging or promoting various forms of travel to, for example, the stadium, we'd like to work with them on that, yes. But in terms of technically integrating, it's something I'll have to take away.
I have similar thoughts around university open days and that sort of thing. So there's obviously lots of different usage options. question from Alan. What do you perceive as the biggest challenges or challenges to the success of this project?
I think the biggest challenge at the moment is integrating the MSPs, but also getting the functionality to a point where it does offer the user a good, I guess, offer. So what we want to be careful of is we do want to launch the app to the public, but at the same time, we don't want to launch something that's not ready, because if it's out there and it's being used, and there's an issue, or the services don't cover the range of services that someone would consider to be good, there's reputational damage, and that would be the hardest thing to sort of change people's minds again, because if they've tried it once and it's not up to their standard, or it's not high quality, it'll be harder for us to get them back to try and use the app. So the biggest challenge at the moment is to deliver something that is high quality, but also has that range of services that it acts as a base or a foundation to then grow it with the supporting services later on.
I guess it needs to be recognised against all the other apps that are out there already.
Yes.
By individual operators. So.
Well, yeah, it's getting that market share, and I guess convincing people to download our one super app rather than have the 14 other apps to access the transport.
And a question from Patrick. What is your thinking on how you're going to make the app economically self-sustainable once funding has ended? Sure.
We have a number of routes that we're looking at here. We don't know at the moment which one will be the best. It might be that there's a range of options that we follow, and we sort of pick out different ones. But this ranges to, I guess, the bus improvement service funding, or there's things like referral schemes where if you made a journey and you end up at a Starbucks, for example, that the platform could be funded via a referral scheme like that. There are multiple other things like, I guess, commission on the tickets, or where we are expanding to other areas that we charge a licensing fee to make the app available in that area, and that money would be ring-fenced then to fund the app going forward. So we have a number of different options that we're exploring at the moment. I can't see there just being one silver bullet, and it's going to be made up of lots of different funding streams.
You said the funding runs, is it 2 years?
It's a 4-year project. We're quite a bit into that, but it ends June 2024. Okay. So there's a
bit of time to bottom that up. Well, that's great, thank you. So unless any more questions pop up, I think I'm not seeing any more kind of coming. So I think just left for me to say thank you, Steve. That's been a really interesting run through. Hopefully it's given people food for thought, and people will be looking out for this product when it comes to market, so we can actually go and start using it, applying it to our trips, which will be good.
Please do look out for it in the App Store. If anyone does have any follow-up questions, more than happy if my email address is distributed to the group. And as I said, if you've got any further feedback to go on the Menti board, I'm sure you can send around the website and the codes to do that as well. But thank you very much for hosting and inviting me.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll do that. We'll send out details. We'll send out a copy of the presentation as well, so others can watch it. So just leaves me to say, so the next Future South webinar is on the topic of B Corp and B Corp implications for sustainability. That's taking place on the 23rd of March, and it's at 12 o'clock rather than this 11 o'clock slot, so slightly later. So information on that presentation will be on the Future South website. I'm sure links will be sent through to attendees as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you to the audience, and we'll see you the next one. Right. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.